Hello and welcome everyone to Twitch Tales, episode 94 of the running total. Where did we leave off in episode 93, or season 6, episode 4, as the last one was known? Well, Apis has found themselves as a special operative, a SWAT team member, essentially, with a special task in the Demon War, on the front of the war, up in the northwest of Corintiel Island of the Kingdom of Serentil. Apis has been tasked with shutting down the main demon portal through which most of the demon armies are sprawling forth. The king's army are tackling the actual front lines, making sure the demons are not gaining footing within the kingdom of Serentil. But Apis has been asked to head behind enemy lines with a very small force, a very select team of people, get as close as they can to the portal and do their best to close it. So you're on your way to doing that, essentially. You are heading north. You've got your team assembled, a high-level, mid-level druid, Charlie, a low to mid-level fighter, Joey, and yourself, and your ally, Mellifera, the giant bee. What happened in the last episode was you were given your supplies and a supply wagon to head up to the front line of the war, a town called Shadridge. And on the way, you were heading through a part of the forest known as the Dead Woods, called such because of a huge, out-of-hand termite problem that had killed most of the trees around. And in the midst of all of these dead trees, you got ambushed by a couple of demons, and they seemed to be led by something that's a little bit more organized than demons are usually. Some sort of perhaps part devil, part demon, which would be unusual to say the least, given that devils and demons are immortal enemies. But she seemed to be leading these demons and disappointed in their ruining of the ambush because of the chaos that is demons, herding cats, as it were. So you suffered some casualty, some injury, but ultimately destroyed the two demons and captured the third one, the leader, some sort of Cambion-looking creature, maybe a succubus-looking creature, some sort of sexy devil lady, let's say. She used some burning hands to destroy some of the surrounding forest, which is now on fire around you, but then you used your giant bee companion Mel to put her to sleep with her soporific spores. This demon lady went to sleep, and you used the minute that she's going to be asleep to carefully tie her up. You tied her hands together so she can't cast spells easily. You put a rope in her mouth so she can't cast verbal spells easily. And then she just starts to come round, and that is where we left off. So Apis, your owlbear wild-shaped druid friend Charlie, your heavily wounded fighter friend Joey, and your relatively intact bee friend Mel are all surrounding this tied-up devil demon lady while the forest burns around you. What would you like to do? Ask Charlie to take care of the fire if he can. He is a druid, so maybe he has some sort of ability to put that fire out quick. Put that light out. Put out the fire and heal while keeping an eye on the succubus lady. Alright, so you put out the fire and heal. That's your main focus, is it? You turn to Charlie, you say, Charlie, can you handle this fire? Charlie shifts back out of his owlbear form. If you're watching this later and you're pedant for this sort of thing, I did rule in the last one that Charlie can turn into owlbears. That's a choice, even though owlbears are technically monstrosities in the 5e rules, not beasts. To my mind, they're much closer to being beasts than they are to monsters. And so I ruled that he can turn into one. Anyway, if it shifts out of his owlbear form and he says, I'll do what I can, and then he's going to start doing some druidic magic to start extinguishing the flame. Now, what did Charlie have left? He used up one of his 5th levels, so he's got some 4th level spells. So let me quickly open up my druid spells and see what he might have active. I didn't fully stat out like everything because I don't want to be just playing with myself on camera. Oh, thank you. So I just sort of gave him spells and a level and said like if I need his spells, I'll sort of look them up in the moment. So let's see, spell level. I'm sure there's some sort of druidic 4th level spells that have something to do with water. We could just make a fire break and let it burn out as well if needed. Let's have a look. Conjure minor elemental. What does that one do? You summon elementals that appear in unoccupied spaces you can see. So he could summon an elemental of challenge rating 2 or less and just do water elementals and get them to put it out. Oh, control water, but you kind of need a body of water for that to work. What else has he got? Ice storm. That would definitely put out a section of it. How big is it? 20-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder. You might be able to get most of it in that. Can you then move that around or no? You can't move it after casting it. Summon element. Wall of fire. That'll work. He'll do wall of fire. Wasn't it raining here earlier? Watery sphere. Here we go, because he can move that around. Conjure a sphere of water with a 5-foot radius, so a 10-foot diameter wall of sphere, which is a lot of water. Strength saving throw. The sphere can restrain, blah, blah, blah. As an action, you can move the sphere up to 30 feet in a straight line. Blah, blah, blah. And it lasts for a minute. So he can move it 300 feet in around. So yeah, I'm going to say... actually, I'm going to put it to a percentage check. Because druids have to prepare their spells in the morning, I'm going to just roll a percentage check to see whether he prepared Watery Sphere this morning. Let's go with... He did, alright. I give it a 60% chance. I rolled a 52. So he cast... He comes out of wild shape and... starts to swirl around. He catches some of the very light spittling rain that wasn't enough to extinguish the fire itself, just kind of a light drizzle, and he catches some of that and pulls it into itself. For like a good 6 seconds, he's just pulling in gallons and gallons of water from around the surrounding area. It's pretty impressive to watch if you had the chance to actually watch it. Not that you do, because you immediately turn from your attention from Charlie to Joey and say, Joey, have you been taking prisoners during this war, or like are we killing her? What's the protocol been so far with the Knights of Kvassna? Joey's kind of holding his side because he almost got torn apart by one of the demons last time. Joey's in quite a bit of pain, but he's obviously trying his best not to show it. He's got his arm wrapped around himself, and he goes, with the demons, we haven't been taking prisoners. There's been no point. They do not fear anything that we can do to them on this plane of existence, because if they die here, they just respawn where they were. And so Joey's not telling you outright that you have to kill this lady, but he's also saying we're not taking her prisoner. Like, we can maybe get some information out of her before we kill her, is kind of what he's hinting at or implying, but he's definitely not he's not suggesting that you keep her alive. There is, having said that though, from what he's just said, there is an implication that if you kill her, she just respawns elsewhere, whereas if you do keep her alive, then she is just tied up in the forest here for a while, and then she's less of a problem perhaps. So it's really up to you whether you want to kill her or just leave her tied up or something. You could always, like, I don't know, cripple her and then leave her in the woods, and then she can't respawn until she dies. But then you've got to prevent her from just ending herself to respawn. Lots of tricky things. You're going to have to decide. I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's your character. You make the choice. What you do see is the water sphere is now just blasting around all of the trees that are on fire, and just like there's branches snapping off, and the watery sphere is kind of like sucking up all these twigs and stuff within it. It's becoming this maelstrom of this twirling, swirling water and twigs. As it's extinguishing flame, you can see this. You're just kind of surrounded in this section of the forest by steam and fog that's just pouring off of it. In the meantime, while that's happening, a couple of people have suggested giving Joey one of your Cure Wounds spells or one of your potions of healing. You have currently, as you can see down here, you have 3 first level spell slots and 2 second level spell slots left, and these are your spells that you have, one of which is Cure Wounds. So if you want to expend a first level spell slot to Cure Wounds him, for Joey would heal a d8 plus your wisdom, I think it is for a ranger. Yeah, plus your wisdom, so it'd heal a d8 plus 2. You could also cast it at second level, which would be a 2d8 plus 2. Or you could give him a potion, which would keep your spell slots for you, but then it's obviously a consumable gone. Alright, so let's put this to a poll then. This is how it works. If anybody's new to Twitch Tales, there is a decision to be made. Heal Joey, ? Joey is your fighter ally, half elven. The first option is just no, don't heal him. Second option is Cure Wounds first level. The second option is Cure Wounds second level. The third option is Potion. First level twice is more healing than one second level. That is true, because you add your wisdom modifier only once to the roll to the thing. So if you are in a rush in the middle of a battle, doing 1 second level spell is quicker. It only takes you 1 action rather than 2. But if you are out of combat like now, then maybe, or if you're not worried about conserving your spell slots, then doing first level twice is slightly more healing than doing second level once. How wounded does he seem? That's a good point. He is definitely wounded. He is down to... where did I write it? I wrote it on my phone, didn't I? While he was taking damage. There it is. He is bloodied, so he's considered less than half his hit points. He's not on death's door, but he's got some to go. All right, 58% of Apus's neurons are firing, saying let's just Cure Wounds him at level 1. See how that goes first, and then maybe do it again if he needs it. 39% saying let's do it at level 2. So you're definitely still thinking we should heal him, and thinking it should be a spell rather than a potion. So you, while the lady is kind of just coming around bleary-eyed, coming to consciousness and looking around herself, realizing what predicament she's in, you can tell that she's kind of like smiling to herself underneath the gagged rope, and then she's doing her best to sort of like shuffle and just sit herself up against one of the trees, knowing that there's no point fighting back when she's surrounded like this. But she's just having enjoyment, I suppose, taking some enjoyment in her predicament. You reach out to Joey and summoning the goddess Flonanshale, the goddess of healing, into yourself, down your arm. This tingling sensation, this warm glow starts to appear at your hand, and you heal him, marking off 1 spell slot. You heal him for... Let me roll on the dice cam for you, which means emptying the dice box for all the people that get too anxious about all of the dice. There you go. Let's empty those out so that I can show you the dice cam. Alright. Dice cam, you heal him for 6 plus 2. You heal him for 8 hit points. Okay, which takes him to... What's half of that? He's not yet... he still looks bloodied. In terms of like how I rule bloodied, he still looks bloodied, but not by much. It definitely heals him significantly. He's looking a lot better. Also try not to use Joey's or Charlie's names. Very smart. You know that names have power. You have spent enough time in the Feywild, and you know about the power that true names can have. Okay, just thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat. Do we do it again? Do we use another level spell slot to heal him a second time? As you heal that guy, as you heal Joey, you say to him, "Well, we don't need to keep her alive. We could just burn holes in her with the holy water that we have to gauge her reaction. Interesting. We'll see how she reacts to that in a second. All right, so no, yes, no, yes, no, no, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, no. Oh, it's right. It's kind of down. It's hard to tell. It's kind of down the middle. You don't actually have to hurt her with the holy water. You can just like say it to gauge her reaction. You do have a liter of holy water, but you don't know how much of that you're going to need to close the portal. Question: use another spell to heal more. Yes or no? Alright, 1 minute to decide. It's kind of down the middle whether you're wanting to use another spell slot. You have 2 second level spell slots left and 2 first level spell slots left. It is early morning on today, just to give you the context. This is the first encounter of the day. It may be the last encounter of the day, but it may not. You are on your way to Shadridge, and you are hopefully going to get some sort of chance to rest up at Shadridge, but you might want to hold off on spells in case. It's up to you. If you do encounter more things later, it might be good to have your spell slots left, but if you do encounter more stuff later, it might also be good to have Joey not dying. So it's really a, oh my god, Rob's giving us a hard decision to make. Who'd have thought it? He's almost at half health, he should be fine. Maybe. You're at full health. Because thankfully as an archer, you were able to fight from a distance and not take any damage from the geezers. Alright, it's a close call, but with 54% of the vote to 46% of the vote, Apis decides, I'll hold off on my spell slot, I can always heal him later if he needs it. So you kind of look at him, you see that most of his wounds have closed up, he's not holding his side as much, he thanks you for your spell, and then he turns his attention to the lady and grabs out his sword. And he puts his sword, sort of points out directly towards her face and turns to you and says, you're taking point on this. What do we do? He's leaving it up to you to make the decision, Apis. What do you want to do? Do you want to just straight up slaughter this lady? You can do so without needing to roll anything. She's essentially considered incapacitated, so you can just like coup de grace her. But you could also try and interrogate her or try and make a bargain with her or something. We should keep the devil demon near death. Just cut off one of her legs or something. You could if you want. Cut off all the limbs and leave her. Splash the normal water next to her as if it's holy water. Also, by the way, you did say the thing about the holy water. Let's see if she reacted to that. Make a dice cam. There we go. Let's grab you a d20 and do your insight. That is a good insight. That is a good insight. I think next time we roll a new character for Twitch Tales, you might be smart taking insight proficiency, because the amount of times it comes up and you don't have proficiency in it. With a 17 plus 2 wisdom, with a 19 total, you get the impression that when you said something about holy water, she was more amused and impressed than she was frightened. It didn't seem to frighten her at all. It seemed to be like, oh, you know what, how to hurt us. That's interesting. She was already interested in you last week because of how you were fighting. She saw some of your arcane abilities and was like, oh, you're interesting. She even exclaimed sometimes during the fight, like, oh, maybe I'll keep you alive. And then after she saw some of the things you could do, she was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to keep you alive. Because she seemed fascinated by what you can do. Now that you also have demonstrated that you understand enough about demons to be like, holy water hurts them, she's like, this guy, this dwarf seems to know what they're doing. This dwarg. Can you develop proficiency? You can, yes, by spending downtime training in insight, reading books on insight, or talking to people about how to read micro expressions and stuff. If you spend downtime learning, then you can train to be proficient in insight if you wanted to. So that's what you gained from threatening her with holy water. What else do you want to do? I don't think Apis wouldn't be okay with dismembering, but not okay with straight up murder. I tend to think Apis wouldn't be okay with dismembering. Right, yeah. How long does the respawn process take? You don't know. You know that demons respawn if they're killed outside of their the home plane of the Abyss, but you don't know specifics. Still want to deprive her of any and all equipment she has. Can we take the gear off her? Yeah, easily enough done. You take the gear away from her. She doesn't have a lot. She had a couple of things of like basic leather armors, and she didn't seem to have any like tangible weapons because she didn't seem to need them from what she used. She used her charming abilities to not very great effect, unfortunately. She used her charming abilities, she used her commanding abilities, and she used burning magic hands, so she didn't really need physical weapons. So she has no weapons on her. Her hands are the weapons, it seems. Her hands and her face. Do we have a way to contact the others if we keep her as a prisoner? Which others? Joey says. The town of Fondurg? I don't think we have a way of directly... we can send a message. One of us could ride back quickly and take the donkey, ride it as quickly as it can. I'm not sure it's a very fast beast, but I could definitely get some speed out of it. He is a what are they called? Cavalier. He's a cavalier fighter, so he is very good with mount. Was there something about this ambush telling us that our route could be known to enemies? Oh yes, definitely. The fact that you are on a direct path between Fondurg and Shadridge means that the enemies know that the supply chain goes from Fondurg to Shadridge. Could we build a stick-based prison cell so it's so confining she can't move her arms? You could certainly try. It would take you the rest of the day. We're okay with killing when it's necessary. I feel like it's moving too fast. Between the Knight's orders and her current interest, this is a situation where it feels slightly more on the necessary side. Oh, for sure. Like you guys are playing Apis, so don't let me influence. But I would say that you are fighting demons and fiends that are extraplanar evil, like they are an embodiment of the concept of evil. Apis isn't some sort of pacifist. Just because it says in their stat block that they don't kill unless necessary, it doesn't mean that they are opposed to all violence. When you're in a war of literal demons, you can Apis should probably feel absolutely fine with killing, unless as a collective, you guys controlling Apis decide that that's the direction you want to go and you want to actually make Apis more of a pacifist. But I don't think people are arguing that we shouldn't kill her. People are arguing whether we should just dismember her and try and leave her alive, because then she doesn't respawn in the other plane, and then she's not a problem that recurs. Meanwhile, the minute comes to an end, and Charlie has extinguished the flames with lots of steam rolling off of her, and then Charlie comes back and says, "Right, that seems to be dealt with. Hopefully she can't do that again, though. What are we doing with her?" And turns to you for guidance. So it seems we need to make a poll, because you guys cannot decide on a decision, so I'll put it to a poll. What to do with her? Alright, we are going to go kill her as the first option, just straight up kill her. The second option is disable/dismember in some way. If you want to do something to her, break her legs or cut off her hands or something that's so she can't do much, but she's left alive. Take her is the I'm going to say take her prisoner because phrasing. Kill her, take her prisoner, disable, dismember her, interrogate her. I think those are the main options. Go. Alright, so with 71% deciding to interrogate her, the other 20% just wanting to just straight up kill her, we decide to interrogate her. What do we ask? She is gagged, so if you ask her anything that's not yes-no questions, whether she can't just like nod and shake her heads, if you ask her anything she needs to speak to answer, then you will need to ungag her. Just ask her yes-no questions. Before you start, can we tell the difference between demons and devils through our primeval awareness? You could train to do so, but it would be... You don't yet know really how to do that. She's female and a demon. I'm getting gay by the minute. You start with... Is there a reason to keep you alive? She smiles and just kind of gives a shrug. Like a little sly kind of like a implication of, that's up to you. If we're going to interrogate her, can we at least start with a quick whisper to Joey, Mel, and Charlie? Yeah, no names. So we grab the two of them, pull them back, and Mel as well. Say, No names, no deals, and careful with what we say that could provide her any information. Agreed. They all agree. You step back into range with her. She could be we should be good with yes or no questions because of the dice. Yeah, the dice have trained you to work out how to ask yes no questions. Are you a demon or a devil? Not yes for demon, no for devil. She just kind of shrugs again. Like a non-committal. She kind of just gives this like sort of vague sort of wobble of the head that could be interpreted as either, and then she just kind of shrugs. If you don't answer us, I will make you drink holy water. She shakes her head as if to say, no you won't. Were you sent to ambush us specifically? She shakes her head. No. On a scale of fresh garlic bread to a boil on a hag's butt, how hot is she? I'd say like a 7. Nah, like a 8.5. Were you spying and following us, or randomly waiting for someone to come by? She nods. We just told her that we can't tell the difference between demons and devils. We did, yeah. Can we actively insight all of these answers? Yes. Haha, that was 2 questions. Yes, it was. And she is amused by your inability to ask a single yes/no question. Let's just roll you an active insight check that will last through all of this. I'm just going to go to dice cam. Nice. That's an 18 plus 2, dirty 20. With your dirty 20 insight, I will apply that to this whole interrogation, and I'll let you know if she's doing or saying anything that you might have reason to believe is untrue. You don't know this woman very well. You've never met whatever the hell she is before, so it makes her facial expressions relatively, new to you. You don't know if she's got tells. You don't know if she's an incredible liar. But I will tell you if there's anything catches your eye, any micro expressions or eyes that dart to the side, or like a momentary twitch of the lip or anything that seems to make you give the impression that she's lying. Were you waiting for just anyone to come by? And she nods. Do you know what we were sent here to do? She shakes her head. Are you part of the army of demons? She looks up as if searching for the answer, and then kind of gives like a squint of, not exactly a yes or no. Are you a mercenary for one of the fiendish armies? She nods her head. Do you have a boss you report to? Again, she kind of like gives one of those that's like a wobble side to side head rather than like a nod so much as like a kinda like a side to side bobbing of the head. Are there more of your kind on this road? She just smiles as if to be like, I'm not going to tell. She seems extremely unconcerned with any of this. Yep, she seems very open about answering these questions. Maybe because she's lying and misleading you. Maybe because she just thinks that you're so little of a threat that she can just say it. You're just here to enjoy chaos. She gives like a raise of the eyebrows and a I do enjoy chaos kind of a face. Without approaching making a deal territory, can we ask her if she has questions for us? Do you have questions for us? Her eyes raise as if that surprises her that you don't offer, and she nods her head, yes. Are there other ambushes between here and Shadridge? She kind of looks to the side as if she's gonna try and remember, and then slowly shakes her head as if to say, like, I don't think so. Would you serve us given the right price? She, with that, her reaction isn't a nod or a shake of the head. It's just like a, oh, okay, this is taking a turn I didn't expect. Like, interest, like serious curiosity and intrigue as to like, oh, who is this dwarg? They keep surprising me. They don't answer. She just kind of has wide eyes looking at you. Are you on a mission? She gives a hesitant nod of the head. Do you know how the fiend... I'm assuming you meant fiends, not friends. Rita. Do you know how the friends have come to be here? Do you know how the fiends have come to be here? A very clear shake of the head. Could we easily get more holy water? Is it as simple as finding a holy person in town? You cannot easily get more holy water, no. The clerics are few and far between during a time of war with demons. And no, it's very hard to get. They are making more, but it takes a while and it's an expensive process. We love chaos. Good, neutral, or evil chaos? Definitely evil chaos. Let's put Horizon Walker in a bucket and drown. Oh, holy water. I was like, Horizon Walker? But holy water. I'm used to HWP, Horizon Walker, not holy water. Horizon. We could write a song. Man, that's the start of a song, isn't it? There's a rap. There's a rap in there somewhere. Apis is a Horizon Walker, bringing a liter of holy water. Killing the demons in the demon war to protect the towns of something. I feel like there's another. I need a town that sounds like Walker. Winglowfowl. No. We're gonna write a. I've got distracted now. Sorry that you did this to me. Winglowfowl. Dolbin Ilawal. Helweren. None of those sound like holy water. Damn it. Someone better at lyrics. Make me a song. So you're not important enough to know. She feigns like a mock insult at that, like insulted mock offense taken. Did you get paid in gold for this mercenary work? She smiles as if to be like condescending at how naive the question is, and then she just kind of shakes her head as if to be like, "No, you silly boy." Is your mission in Shadridge? She kind of just non-committal shrugs. Also, all of you can fuck off. This is worse than dreams, says the person taking notes. Sorry, Fancy. I like the idea of paying her to switch sides. She also was very interested in that as a suggestion. Do you know who was responsible for opening the door to the fiends? She nods her head yes, with like an air behind it of like, ooh, now we're getting somewhere. Next, Twitch details. Write a rap song for Apis. Apis is a Horizon Walker, bringing along the holy water. Fighting the demons to end the war to the plane of existence that they adore. So, please excuse Rob while he writes up a small village that rhymes with what he needs. That definitely always existed. Yeah. The just downstream from this demon portal that is spewing forth demons, there's now a village that has always existed for sure. That is called something like Gorta. Gorta the rock gnome village. Let me just add that to my notes. Miscellaneous. Where's my miscellaneous notes? There we are. Adding to it's got to be put in the top section that I've got of my notes called things to flesh out. Rock gnome village near the demon portal called it'd be forest gnome probably. It depends whether they're on the mountain or. Nah, I think I'll put it on the mountain. Near the demon portal called something that rhymes with water. Rhymes with water. There we go. This is how world building works. Threatened her with holy water, but in the end we just bought her. If you end up, that's an extra good argument for buying her services and like switching her to your side, like just making her a turncoat, a mercenary willing to work for the best price. If you just do that just so that you can say in the end we just bought her. Were you paid in soul coins for this work? She raises her eyebrows again as if to be like, holy shit, does this dwarf have no end to how much they keep impressing me? They know about soul coins. And she nods her head. Like, yep, I was paid in soul coins for this. So you were paid more like souls and services. And she, yes, confirms that that is how soul coins work. Could we cut her and take some of her blood? Ooh, you absolutely could if that's what people wanted to do, yeah. Pause there then. I'll see if I can get a response on that. Just thumbs up, thumbs down, yes, on just taking a vial of her blood. We do have a knife, and we do have her tied up, and we do have an empty vial. So we could take a vial of her blood if we want. You do know that blood is important and powerful and magical, and if you have somebody's blood, you have some sort of power over them, but you don't necessarily know how to use that power, but could be straight up useful. All right, a couple of no's, but overwhelming yes. Apis says, right, I've got more questions for you, but just in the meantime, whips out one of the daggers, the hunting knife that was made from the manticore tooth, perhaps, and you cut her somewhere, let's say her face, just because then maybe she has a cool scar. I'm just going to take this for... I used to be able to do pull a little cork out of the vial and nick the face. I'm just going to take some of this for my own security. She kind of starts to pull away, like realizing what you're doing and realizing, shit, this might actually be something. This is the first time with your Dirty 20 insight from the start of this interrogation. This is the first time that you've seen anything related to not her usual arrogant confidence. Throughout the entire thing, it's been an air of I'm giving you the answers because I do not fear you in the least. And now it's like oh shit, they're taking my blood. I'll just take this for insurance purposes. You cut her face and take a vial of her blood, which you notice is like a very dark red, like almost black. It's it's like when you see coagulated blood. It's not the viscous consistency of coagulated blood, but it is the same color. It's like a really dark, almost black color. Ika, maybe. You're not super familiar as a Horizon Walker yet. You're not super familiar with your current life experiences with what Demon Ika is, but you've read about it and you were expecting it to be a little thicker, a little blacker. But it is still somewhat runny like blood, rather than like thick like tar. You fill a vial of her. We don't need to cut her, just remove one of her arrows that's sticking in her. Yeah. Scab colour, yeah, perhaps. So you take a vial of that. Let me quickly pop over to your inventory page and let's add that to your inventory now, if I can do so. I think it would be under... I think it's under potions, but we might have... Oh, wait, dragon blood, maybe? Has that just disappeared behind there? Yeah. Vial of... Oh, and it's a black colour as well, look. There you go. I'll add that to the inventory. A vial of blackish blood. Look at this cool app that I've got, everybody. Isn't this app amazing? I just want to pause for a second and talk about how cool this app is. Thank you very much to Spidey NZ for all of the artwork and to Fancy for all of the coding. Look how cool it is. All right. So drink the blood. Might be tasty. Yeah, you might. It might be, Yuki. It might be. Let's not drink it. We just got cured from the mushrooms that we ate a few weeks ago. All right. Now, back to interrogation. If there's anything else you want to ask this lady. We do not want to necessarily be here the entire turn, the entire session today. But if you have more pressing things to know, you now have a vial of her blood and some information from her. Whether or not it was truthful, you don't know. Look to Joey and Charlie, see if they have questions. And how are they reacting? They're reacting like bodyguards. They're both standing, flanking you on either side, just like arms crossed. Well, Joey's actually not got his arms crossed. He's got his sword out in front of him, ready to thrust forward and stab her at the moment's notice. Charlie is standing with arms crossed, but you can see that his hands are active, like he's ready to cast if he needs to. They're not. You turn to them. Any questions for her? If I take the gag away, will you try and charm me? She sort of raises her eyebrows as if to be like, try it and see. She's like a flirtatious kind of a way. She's immediately, after you take the blood, she's immediately back to her confident arrogance. Right. Next time I'll dip my blade with holy water. Answer openly. We definitely want this to last an entire session. Yeah, because we don't want to get to Shadridge, right? Last thing we would want is to actually get to the warfront after 5 episodes into the arc. You guys, we can obviously buy this demon, and we should. Question is, do we? Let her nod and shake, answer yes, no questions. She knows who opened the portal. It might give us more information about what we're facing, but I'm happy to kill her now. Alright. Do we not have the soul coins to buy her? You might not need soul coins. That's just what she was bought with. She might still have other things that you could buy her with. Do any demon lords know of this portal? She nods her head in a very pointed, slow way. Are you ready to die? She shakes her head like, no. Just in a casual way like, no, I'm not ready to die. A demon lord opened it. You can ask that, Aerie, if you put it in quotations. Are there other portals to the demon plane? She nods her head. Is it a good idea to send her back to her home plane with knowledge of an impressive dwarf? Maybe not. Did we already ask if it was more than one portal? Are there more than one portal to the demon plane here? She nods her head, but in like a yeah kind of a way, rather than like a yes. A not quite definitive yes, but a yes nonetheless. She knows who opened the portal. We should definitely hear what she has to say about that. Maybe even more than one demon lord. Do you know where the other portals are? Scrunches up her nose and goes like a side to side kind of a nod, like a non-committal kind of an answer. Are those other portals part of a unified invasion plan? She like sort of nods in a finally kind of a way, like fuck, this guy might be impressive with various things, but man, they're slow. If we kill you, do you just respawn back home? She gives a very confident, cocky smirk and a shrug of the shoulders, like try it and find out. Like she's baiting you to do it. Are you ready to go home, having failed your mission? She smiles at you with your because you got a dirty 20 on insight before. You get the impression that she's like excited by you because you have been smart enough to pick up on her saying that she wasn't ready to die, knowing that she's not going to die, not by your hand. And so you switched your tactic to asking her about disappearing instead. And she smiles, but she doesn't answer the question. Did a demon lord open the portal nearby? She nods her head, yes. Have you already been paid as a mercenary? She nods her head, but like she has to kind of eyes go to the side for a second to think before she nods. But yes. Have you been looking for someone like me? Her smile is ominous and makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. At this point, her legs, which have been sort of crossed beneath her, she's been sitting crisscross applesauce. She sort of stretches them out, and you see that Joey kind of flinches forwards, like, whoa, what are you doing? And she just makes a non-committal gesture as if she's just like she needs to just stretch her legs. She's been sitting in the same position for a second. She sort of stretches the legs out beneath her. Is this something you actually enjoy doing, or is this something you have to do because you're owned? She shakes her head, like, nah. If I take this gag off, will you tell me what you want to switch sides? She nods her head with raised eyebrows, like, yeah. All right. Poll time. What now? Kill her. Disable / dismember her. Take the gag off to continue. Cues to continue. Just take the gag off to continue. Kill her, disable her, take the gag off to continue. Was there anything else? I think that's it. 1 minute to decide, starting now. You're reaching the end of your questions that are proving useful. Are you working in opposition to the Lord that opened the portal? She shakes her head. If we do remove the gag, we should have multiple people in different distances around her ready to strike if she begins casting anything. Yes, we should. Yeah. You know, since you're such a fan of chaos, how fun would it be for you to be the one to cause the fall of the Demon Lord's plans? She sort of nods with a like she's agreeing. Pay her to switch sides for getting one. Yeah, we could do that, but that would require like taking the gag off, I think. Ooh, we do not have a consensus. Apis is in 3 minds about this. Disable, dismember her coming in at 26%, kill her coming in at 31%, and 44% taking the gag off. So we're going to drop the disable, dismember and go again between taking the gag off or killing her. Let's see if we can get a 50% majority. She's pretty charismatic. Letting her speak is very dangerous, I think. It is, potentially. Killing her would immediately deliver information about us to the enemy. Bad idea. Maybe. We have her blood. If we can figure out how to use it, we can control her. Alright, 68% of the vote deciding let's take the gag off. We need to talk to her, we need to learn what she knows, and we need to do something in regards to like getting her to turncoat, perhaps. You say, right? Well, let's see then, shall we? Joey, get ready to kill her if she tries anything. Charlie, get ready to kill her if she tries anything. Mel, get ready to kill her if she tries anything. She sort of like, you can hear her sort of like chuckle underneath the gag, which is, just to remind you, just a rope that's in, like a silk rope that's in her mouth.
She could still talk if she wanted to, but she just has been choosing not to talk because it's been relatively difficult to say anything when you've got a silk rope in your mouth. So that's how it's gone. So she's just been talking, she's just been deciding to nod and shake her head instead.
It's a great shot right there, yeah. So she could still be making sound, but she couldn't really be casting anything. Stop using names! Sorry, that was my bad. Apis would have remembered not to do that. J, get ready to kill her. C, get ready to kill her. M, get ready to kill her. You don't use names, you just get her to prepare. And then you say, don't try anything stupid. And then you reach forward and you take the rope and you pull it down over the throat instead of the mouth. A few ground rules: if you try any magic or aggressive tactics, you'll regret it, both now and later. Yes, before you take the gag out, somebody wanted to do protection from good and evil. Is that something that we want to do? Empress, Big C, and J. Protection spell. We have protection from good and evil. If you see the spells list there, you can see that a first level spell is, as an action, protection from good and evil. Is that something you want to do? It will give her disadvantage on pretty much any attack or ability against you. Alright, so right before you take the rope out, you take the... is it concentration? It's not concentration, so you could also cast it on your friends if you want. You have four spell slots left. Oh, is it still up? Yeah, that's a good point. How long does it last? Let me look it up on my phone. Is it a 10-minute thing or is it a 1-minute thing? Because you cast it during the last fight, didn't you? Is that right? You cast it during the last fight? I'm not remembering now. It was a week ago. Spells, protection from good and evil. There it is, thank you. Until the spell ends, 10 minutes. One willing creature Apis touches is protected against blah blah blah. Okay. We hunters marked. We started today's session with 3 spell slots. So we had 1 spell slot lost, and that was hunter's mark. So I don't think we cast protection from good and evil last week, did we? I thought we only hunters marked. I'm going to make the executive decision that if you cast it last week, it's been more than 10 minutes. Because in real life, it has been plenty more than 10 minutes with you standing here interrogating her, plus the minute and a half it took you to put the fire out and then finally get to the first question before you even started questioning her. So if you did cast it, it's expended. But there was a yes, an overwhelming yes, that you did want to cast it again, so another spell slot spended. And you take out some of the, if you look at your inventory here, you have a little pottle of iron and silver filings, things that are basically powdered and dusted metals, and you place it at like the different chakra points or whatever, the different body parts around your body to form this sort of network, and then this like faint line appears between each of them, kind of like a constellation, and then expands from there to fill this sort of like shimmering shield around you as you cast protection from good and evil on yourself. You then reach forward, you take the rope out of her mouth, and she says, "Thank you." Her voice is back to her, but she does not immediately use it to do anything. What do you want to ask her? She's not trying to cast magic. She has no interest in immediately saying anything or casting a spell. Should we put a net over her? You can if you want. So what's your price? I highly doubt that you would understand the economy of what I would ask for. Do you have soul coins? Is it only soul coins that you'd accept? No, I would accept favors. Certain services. She looks down at your crotch when she says that. She's very clearly trying hard to like do the hard sell of like a seductress. What's the name of the demon lord or lords in charge of the invasion? Like all demon lords, they go by many names, but you might know them as Orcus. And Orcus opened the portal? Not directly, but he was responsible for this invasion, yes. What will be interesting to you to switch sides? Make me an offer. You're very interesting. Why don't I take you? What's your name? I'm not stupid enough to give you my real name, but you can call me Sylvia. Many people do. What are you exactly? I'm whatever you want me to be. And she licks her lips kind of seductively. You don't feel like there's anything magically trying to charm you at all, but you do see shift in Joey and Charlie as they both kind of look towards you to make sure that you're not being charmed, like your behaviour doesn't suddenly shift towards them or anything. Who sent you? What do you want? And why should we keep you alive? You wouldn't know the name of the person who sent me. What I want is beyond your scope of understanding, and you shouldn't keep me alive. In fact, and she goes to start standing up, and Charlie reaches out and grabs her shoulder and like shoves her down, and she's like, "Oh, you want to keep me on the floor? Good thing you're so strong. We want the name of the demon lord." I told you. You would probably know them by Orcus. You've been curious about me in this fight. Joining our sides could help you satisfy this curiosity. Satisfy a lot more too. Forget about the soul coins. You've seen how interesting it is on this side. Why would you want to keep serving a boring old lord when you can experience new and interesting things like me every day? Okay. It's a start. Are you offering yourself as interest? Orcas, whale demons, got it. Yeah, yeah, it's a killer whale demons. That's who's opened the portal. It just takes a sudden twist. You could serve us, and we won't use your blood to have a cleric bind you from this plane. And where are you going to find a cleric? I thought we'd dealt with most of them. And you suddenly start to realize why people have been saying it's pretty difficult to find a cleric these days. Is it safe to assume you're a succubus then? It's a little reductive, she says. Since we're immune to the charmed effect while under protection from evil and good, would we know she attempted to charm us? No, you wouldn't know. If you're immune to it, it wouldn't even break through the barrier, so it wouldn't affect your mind, so you wouldn't have an idea. Oi, Charlie's ours. Stay away from Charlie, he's Raid's husband. History check on the name Orcus? Sure thing. Let's see if you know anything about them. 3. 3 plus your intelligence of 3. And you're not proficient in insight. In history. So that's just a 6. You do not recognize the name Orcus. What could you do for us besides your false flattery? She looks around, she looks up at Charlie, she looks across at Joey, she says, I could keep morale up. I could tell you where the demons are, I could tell you about their forces, I could tell you about their numbers, their weaknesses, I could tell you a whole bunch of things. The question is really what would you do for me? She pushes her leg back behind her so that she's like in a half kneeling position. She's got her left leg sort of kneeling underneath her now, and her right leg kind of crossed in front, almost in one of those yoga poses. Charlie's hand still on her shoulder, keeping her down. If everyone agrees we could fight side by side until this conflict is resolved, you'd experience plenty of interesting things along the way. You just say things and they happen, Riedel. We could potentially fight side by side until the conflict's resolved. You'd experience plenty of interesting things. I'm sure I would. Stop playing with us. Just name your price and keep in the mind the position you find yourself in. I'm well aware of the position I find myself in. I think we'll meet again. You're a lot of fun. And then she very quickly pushes up from where she is. It seems like she's one of these sort of very limber people that you see online who do like stretching every single day so they can get up from weird positions. Have you seen that challenge where you basically wrap your leg around lotus position while standing and then do like a squat from there and then stand back up again without letting your other foot touch the ground at any point? She seems like she can do that sort of thing. She's got a very limber and nimble body. And so from this position that she's found herself in now with her leg sort of half kneeling behind her and the other one out in front, she stands up, like pushes against Charlie, like with surprising strength. And then she goes to bite you on the neck, but Joey's ready actions triggers and he lunges forwards and stabs right through her chest. And then she smiles as if that's exactly what she wanted. And she says, I'm sure my lords will be very interested in you. See you next time. And then she passes out, and as she passes, the skin seems to whoosh, burn into fire. The skin tears open like it's flash paper, and her blood pours forward, but instantly being incinerated by the flames. There's this sort of this geyser of ichor that sort of explodes out from her, and then just immediately drops to the ground. Your silk rope will be destroyed, unfortunately, but your magic rope, being that it's magic, is going to survive. So your silk rope, unfortunately, has gone. And it's a good thing you didn't put a net on her. She has committed suicide by captor, essentially, by instigating a captor that she knew was ready to strike her as soon as she tried something. And she's probably going to respawn in the demon planes with knowledge of who you are and your interests. Always beneficial when a demon lord takes a personal interest in it. I mean, the gods certainly have. So it makes it only fair that the demon lords are going to start taking an interest in you too. Can we have Charlie send the blood back to town with a note? Yes, probably. How bad is our magic rope? Your magic rope is burned as well, but it is a rope of entanglement, a rope of climbing, and a rope of mending all rolled into one. So given enough time, it will stitch itself back together. The burn marks will heal essentially on your magic rope, so it should be fine in the long run. Is the blood in the vial burning too? It is not, interestingly. There was info on Orcus in the Blood War chapter. Should I forget it for now? Yes, forget it for now, because that's information that we rolled for, and it turns out you don't know. We will revisit that once you're specifically reading about looking for the name Orcus and such. Animal messenger? Yeah, I think druids have animal messenger at a relatively early level, right? Spell names animal. I think it's like a level 2 spell from memory. Druid spell. Yeah. So Charlie, do you want to send the vial of blood back to Vala, who's the blood expert? Is that the impression? No, you want to keep it, because then you can summon her again. Use it to banish her from this plane for 100 years. You could try and do that, yeah. It's our own leverage. We could do that. Alright. Thumbs up to keep the vial of her blood. Thumbs down to send it to the blood expert back in Fonderg. Alright, we're going to decide to keep it, but we should at least get Charlie to send a message of what happened. So you turn to Charlie, you explain, look, can you, I've seen somebody do this before, can you like message into one of the animals here and send it back? Charlie looks around and says, we'd be hard pushed to find an animal in the dead woods, but we can press on, and the first bird I can see, I can send it back to Fonderg, yes. Right, we should definitely let them know exactly what happened as soon as we can. Should we send the vial of blood to Vala? She might know what to do with it. And you say, I'd rather keep it as leverage. If I've got this on her, I can potentially do something with it. And he says, potentially do so. Okay, I'll trust you to know what you're talking about. And then you grab your stuff. You grab the donkey that's kind of been freaking out like a good 100 yards away now. Like it's gotten itself completely stuck. It's like freaking out because it's got the cart just stuck against something. It tried to escape and went through the woods and got immediately stuck. So you take a hour or so, well, not an hour, but like the rest of this hour to pull the donkey back out and get the cart sort of fixed up a bit. Seal the vial with prestidigitation like Vala did. Yeah, you pop the cork back in and you seal it with some simple magics. Well, that was somewhat informative. We should let Fonderg know as soon as possible that the demons are responsible for the shortage of clerics. And Charlie says, yes, we had the impression that was the case, yes. And you start to trundle off towards Shadridge. You make it out of the demon woods before too much longer. Demon woods, sorry, the dead woods. You make it out of the dead woods and on the road to Shadridge, heading north. It's not too much further beyond the dead woods that Shadridge starts to loom into focus on the horizon as you're heading up the shady side of the ridge here, hence the name. Charlie at one point manages to cast animal friendship, I think it is, on one of the birds flying overhead to catch it from a distance and summon it closer. And as it circles down towards him, he casts Animal Messenger on it, and he gives them a brief breakdown of the information. Supply wagon attacked by demons on the way through the dead woods. 3 demons, no casualties on our end. We interrogated one of them. Hard to know if we can trust the information, but blah blah blah. Information, blah blah blah. And then sends the bird off. But he says all of that in his voice, not in whatever voice that was. The bird circles up and then shoots off in the direction of Fonderg to go and tell Vala the information, or probably sent it on to the lieutenant, to be honest. Exposition cantrip via bird, yeah. And then, with that, you trundle off, arriving at the outskirts of Shadridge after only 5 episodes to get here. You arrive at the outskirts of Shadridge around mid-afternoon, let's say. Don't die about making it too early, Wraith. Don't die yet. We still haven't made it into Shadridge. Something might distract us on the way. We should go to Fondog ourselves to find a cleric and report. Alright, let's have a look. You approach Shadridge. The first thing to catch your eye about what has changed in the 8.5 months that you have been gone is that it is now a walled town. Before, it was barely there was barely any security or protections of the town at all. But now they have erected a palisade with sharpened logs sticking out at various different angles. Essentially, it is not going to keep anybody out if they're really pushing. It's not not as well created a wall as Fondog's is, but it definitely has been added recently to try and offer a little bit of protection at the very least. Even if that is just basically security theatre for the people that now live there, so that they feel a little more secure. What happened to getting Arms on the way? Arms is at, last you heard, is at the Colton's farm, which is on the northeast side of town, and you're coming in from the southwest. You're coming in from the exact opposite side of town as the Colton's farm. Arms, for those who don't remember, is your horse. You bought a horse a long time ago, you used it for exactly 1 trip, and then you ignored it forever. It was a great investment. Just spend the next few hours talking to our baker friend. Yeah, we'll just go to the bakery and catch up with the baker. That's all we'll do. Arms has been drafted into the army by now. Yes, 100%. So you approach the gates into Shadridge. You see that it is manned by some Royal Cross, some of the military guard that have been sent over by the king. You notice them by appearance. They stop you on your way in, ask you friend or foe situation, and ask you to prove yourself. Charlie and Charlie and Joey all get split off and interrogated separately as to like who you are, where you came from, what your purpose is here, what you're bringing, and then they get together and they corroborate your story. It's a good half hour of just waiting outside the town before they come back to say yes, your stories seem to match up. Also, you've exposition dumped to the Royal Cross on duty at this point that what happened to you on the way. And then they let you in. They take a very small sort of stiletto dagger out, and they prick you on the forearm, each of you on the forearm, and take just like watch to see what color your blood comes out, kind of thing. And then they let you in. The 3 of you make it into Shadridge proper with the donkey in tow. Looking around, the town itself hasn't changed a hell of a lot. There are a couple of new buildings that have been created. There's also more surfacing on the roads of Shadridge. The main path through the town is no longer a dirt path, but it is more of a cobbled stone path. Your friend Franklin's baker shop is still there. It's still active, it seems. Franklin is probably still working away in it. You don't see him just yet. Down this end of the store, you see the new blacksmith shop that you helped to set up, which is on here somewhere. Does he still live here? I think he still lives here. No, I think Oliver left. Actually, he's the one who couldn't. After everything he'd been through with the Manticore, he didn't want to also stay here for the Demon War, I think. So I think his blacksmith shop is still there, but he's not still working. Then the other blacksmith shop you can see is still working down the other end of town with smoke coming out of the chimney and stuff. It seems like they're hard at work down there. What else do you see? Off to your right, as you go enter the town, you see the mayor's house, which has got a couple of military banners sticking outside of the on either side of the porch now. About halfway down the main path, you see what's the name of her shop again? Something soothsayery. Stars Align, that's what it's called. You see Stars Align, which is the name of Edith's apothecary and soothsaying. You don't see Edith, but you see her shop. On the street, the people that you do see milling around are a lot of military-looking folk. A couple of people walking down the main road on crutches or hobbling. There's a couple of people sort of sitting at the side of the road playing cards and things. Just people that are not immediately on duty as the military. People that are perhaps not been sent out on squads, or people who are being injured. So you're in Shadridge. Nobody is immediately greeting you. You are expected to be delivering your supplies, which you know to be mostly food, over to the main shop. The shop being the general store, Lucille's shop. That's down the far end of town. So you could travel all the way through town to get to Lucille's shop if you want to deliver the goods, or you can send Joey and Charlie to go deliver the goods, and you can go see if Edith's still around. Deliver goods, talk to the mayor. Alright. Let's do the delivery before we get distracted. Deliver the supplies first, yes. So you take the donkey through the town. As you pass Stars Align, you sort of try and look in to see if Edith's still in there. You do not see her. You don't see anybody though, so it's hard to see into the shop. So you continue on past. Some of the people that you do see walking down the street, you see a guy with another cart of his own heading the other way that you somewhat recognise. You never really got to know him too much, but he's a stonemason that lives in town. I don't know if you ever got his name, but his name's Daryl. A sturdy, overweight, bald, smiling kind of man. He's walking down the street, pulling a wagon behind him with some large stone slabs on it. He's heading towards the outskirts of town on the sort of northeast side, as if maybe there's some more buildings happening out there, and he's working on those. Daryl the Dragon? No, that's Darren. Yeah, Darren the Dragon. Who else would you see walking the town? I'd say chatting with the stonemason walking down the town. You see the lumberjack carpenter that you've met before, called John, the son of Dickie, who was one of the victims of Sally the necromancer when she was in town. So you see that John is still working. He's a carpenter. He's walking down the street next to Daryl with planks over his shoulder, and they're just having a conversation. It seems they're both on their way to some sort of construction job. Alright, you eventually make it down to the other end of town to see Lucille's, to see a sign above the shop that says Lucille's shop. You walk in and you see that there is a younger man on duty there, not Lucille. Lucille being an older, crotchety kind of a woman. Never really got on well with you, a little bit short temper and lacking humour. She doesn't seem to be there, not now anyway. You walk in to explain, hey, delivery for you, and the man on duty says, thank you very much, and he comes over and he signs for it. He asks you to stick around for a second while he verifies what's actually in it and see if it lines up with what was reported to be in it. Sure enough, it's mostly rice, potatoes, some things of that nature, lots of wheat, flour and stuff. Well, mainly just the wheat. They can't really farm as much here anymore because of reasons that you'll probably find out. And so they're sending wheat from Fondurg to try and still keep the mill active. There is a mill here in town called Thref's Mill. So you drop off the supplies without issue. What now? Where are you heading? May as well replace our rope while we're here. You can buy another rope while you're in the general store if you want. Go to the library, search up Orcus. You could do, yeah. There's a bit of a there's not really a library so much, but there is like a house with a lot of books in it. You can go to the pub. Meet up with Gretchen. Go to the mayor. Right? Talk to the army leader, right? New rope. A new silk rope. Buy the rope. Do brief the mayor. Alright, well, how much are ropes in this? I think they're like 10 gold, which is fucking ridiculous. So let's decide how much would a silk rope be. Silk, pretty difficult to get a hold of. And 50 foot of it. I'm going to say 3 gold pieces are, during wartime, a little bit more expensive. I'm going to say... I'm going to go 5 gold pieces. The guy wants 5 gold pieces for a 50-foot silk rope. So, 66. you've got the money to spend, so you pay for it, and we'll get the rope back again. Bing. Gear. Rope. Where does it disappear behind? It disappeared behind the nets. There we go. So you've got a silk rope back. Well done. All right, so you head to find out where the mayor is and who the person in charge of Shadridge is, to talk to them and check in. You head downtown to the mayor's house again, walking past Edith's shop, sort of rubbernecking on your way past. You don't see the shop door isn't open, so but you're like, I want to check on Edith, but gotta check in with the mayor first, surely. And you head into the mayor's place. As you are walking in, there are two guards on the door who ask who you are and why you're there. And where the hell? Here, there it is. I was like looking for where the fuck. I've got a section called Here Because of the War. That's why. I was looking under town residents, but of course the people who are in charge of the town are not necessarily residents of it, so they're here because of the war. You explain, hey, we're here to see the Sergeant Jim Mason. You did know the commander because the Lieutenant Windbag told you, yes. We're here to see Sergeant Jim Mason, Apis Hive. I've been sent on a task. This is Joey, this is Charlie, we're blah blah blah. You explain. One of them heads through the door and says, and comes back a moment later, and the sergeant will see you now. And you head on in. You head into the mayor's place. You see that it has been changed from how you remember seeing it. All of Jackson's pictures, his personal effects, everything has been cleared out. There's been like a tarp that's been put down and kind of nailed into the corners of the walls to act as like a temporary floor protection, essentially, as the mayor's house has been turned into a military base. It's not long before you enter the back room, which was once his drawing room or his sitting room, and you see the mayor of the town, who is a man called Jackson Guff, a darker skin, deeper voice, middle-aged human man, and you see a sergeant who is a mule by the looks of him, a mule, M-U-L. That, for people who don't know my world, is the name for someone who is half dwarf, half human. So he's a half dwarf, half human man, relatively short, probably just about 5 foot tall. He's in his military gear. He's got a cloak on that's like a deep shade of green, and he is sitting opposite Jackson with a table in between them and some sort of a map spread out between the two of them. You walk in. They notice your arrival. Jackson says, let's try and remember his voice. He was touch of Australian deep voice. He goes, Apis, good to see you again. It's been too long. And, well, especially been too long since I saw the real you, apparently. And he reaches out and gives you a good old handshake. Jim Mason says, you're, God, this is a tough voice. For some reason, it's like sort of, his... I don't know why I chose such a tough voice for him. You've not actually met this guy before, so I could have made his voice anything. But I chose there's a higher pitch to it, but it's like Scottish, but with a little bit of twinge or something else. He goes, you know this person? And Jackson says, I do. Right. My guards tell me that you're the one that Lieutenant Windbag has sent, whatever his name was, Gellaby. You're the one that Lieutenant Gellaby sent from Fonduk. You say, that's right. Take a seat. We've got much to discuss. Charlie, for the sake of me not having 4 NPCs in the scene, Charlie and Joey are going to either stay outside or stay at the back and not say anything because there's too many people. They say, well, you're just in time, says the sergeant. You're just in time. We're just going over the region at the moment. what do you want to do? Joey needs to take a short rest so that he can get his second wind back. Yeah, take a nap. What do you want to do? What do you want to tell these guys? What do you want to ask them? Is there any information you need? On our way here, we ran into a demon/devil woman, and the sergeant says, "Demons. We're fighting demons." And you said, "No, I know that. I'm saying that she wasn't entirely demon. I could tell she was something else. She had a lot more order to her. She was a lot more organized. She wasn't as embodiment of chaos. I think she was part devil." And the sergeant's very curious about that, sort of thinks to himself for a second, like, that's very strange. For a devil and a demon to procreate is unheard of. We ran into her, whatever she was. We incapacitated her, interrogated her. She revealed to us that one of the demon's goals is to deal with our world's clerics. Thus, there's a shortage. And the Mason says, we have noticed the same. It's really hard to do an Irish/Scottish interaction because they're such similar. We've noticed the same. I don't know why I chose to give him such a difficult voice. We have noticed the same thing. Any time that we have sent holy warriors, it has been they who has been targeted first, with a focus that we would not expect from demons. It seems they are commanded to take out the ones that are healing. Primeval awareness before we start? Yeah, I think that's the spellcasty one, right? Where you cast off a spell to do it, rather than the one that you can just do for free. As an action, you can expend a ranger spell slot to focus your awareness on the region around you. For 1 minute per level of the spell you expend, you can sense whether the following creatures are present within a mile of them, or blah blah blah. You choose the range. Alright, so we're going to cast Primeval Awareness with our last first level spell slot for the day. You focus in on fiends, presumably, and I'm assuming you're just looking at just the building you're in, or are you wanting to expand the range to like the entire house? The entire town that you're in? Just the room? You just want to see if anybody here is a fiend? Just the room, just the range of the room, just the room, just the room. Okay. So with the range of just the room, just earshot essentially, yeah, just the room, you focus on that feeling of demons, that feeling of fiends, that feeling you got from fighting the ones just before, the feeling that she gave you from the sort of hairs on your neck standing up when she was trying to charm you, or when she was trying to like seduce you, when she was just making some sort of icky allusions to the fact that you might now be on the demon's radar. All of these kind of this uneasy, anxious feeling that being around fiends gives you. You focus on that, and you do not feel it in this room. The answer comes back, no, there are no fiends within this room. You open your eyes again. It seems to those watching that you maybe just were meditating for a second, or just thinking through what exactly had happened in your interaction with this fiend before, so you were just trying to remember what had happened, so it wasn't exactly obvious to anyone that you'd been casting anything. A fiend infiltrated the top brass at Fondurg. You might want to institute measures. And the sergeant says, Let me handle security measures. I have ways of making sure the fiends aren't entering my buildings. You get the impression, actually make me an insight check. You're not proficient in it, so you might not pick up on it. Not with a 5, plus 2, 7. Yeah, with a 7 you don't pick up on anything other than what the surface of that interaction was. Alright, so now in exposition dump, including the fiend in the room back at Fondurg. Okay, you explain what had happened, blah blah blah. You exposition dump everything, or do you want anything in particular held back on? Do you have any information that you hold back on, or should I just go, you exposition dump with this guy and we jump to the end of this conversation? Tell them everything that we told Fondurg. Exposition dump, because they're not fiends. Alright. You cast the exposition cantrip and you tell them pretty much everything important to him, and then and anything later we can decide whether or not we told them. And then in return, they will tell you what they know. What information do you want to ask them about? The information that they offer, both the mayor and the sergeant here. The information they offer, regardless, is that Shadridge is not doing too well. Like the economy of Shadridge is kind of collapsing because a lot of Shadridge moved as soon as this demon war became obvious. There are people that are staying in Shadridge because there is a financial incentive for them to do so. The government has started to actually like supplement people's costs, like the woman, I think it is, that runs the mill. Miller, Sharon, yes. She took over for her retired father, Milton. He was much too old to be staying here and dealing with demons. He was like, fuck this, I'm going to Fonderg, you should come with me. He was just going to up and leave the mill to die, but she said, actually, the king is paying for us to keep the mill open. So she's stayed here despite the danger to do that. Same with the Colton farm. The Coltons have been heavily subsidised to work round the clock. They've hired a few more workers, a few more farmhands. They've expanded the farm significantly to try and like keep the army fed, but they are struggling. They talk about how the Jack Creed's apiary has been converted now. It's no longer an apiary. It's been converted into another farm, and they've brought in more farmers from out of town to start working that as well, so that there's now 2 farms supplying Shadridge. What else do they tell you about the changes that have been made? A lot of the stores have just closed, the ones that weren't important enough to be subsidized by the king. So a lot of the people who owned them are like, well, if we're not going to get subsidization and we're going to stay in the frontier town of a war against demons, I don't think so. So a lot of people have sort of packed up their entire livelihoods and just gone back to Fonderg or beyond. They talk about how the main inn in town, the Lucky Loot, is thriving. Gretchen is loving it. Gretchen doesn't seem to be afraid of the demons, but she's loving the fact that her inn is constantly full. She doesn't like the fact that her inn is the back room of her inn has basically been turned into a makeshift hospital, but she does understand the necessity of that. The population of Shadridge, you get told, has been drastically altered. The demographics, I should say, because what used to be a mainly human frontier town is now housing a lot of asylums, asylum seeker. A lot of refugees. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. It's now housing a lot of refugee elves from the 4 sister villages. A lot of the sister villages have been abandoned, and a lot of those elves moved south into Shadridge. And so, thankfully, or luckily, I suppose, some of the businesses that were abandoned by humans being like, no thanks, have now been taken up by the elves if they had similar skills and such. Any word of how well the elves are dealing with things? Not particularly well. A lot of the elves are fighting back. Like, the elves aren't as... They've sort of retreated to Shadridge because it was the next best thing, but most of them haven't disappeared elsewhere. They do say, like, a few of them have gone back home, like proper home, but for the most part, they are staying for the fight. They're not willing to just roll over and give up their thousands of years of home in the forest here to some demons. So they're like, screw that, we're going to fight. Is there anything else that you want to know about specifically, about anything that has changed? There's a lot more army in town, and they've brought in specialists from out of town as well, specialist demon fighters and things. At some point you ask, does anyone here have information on a demon lord called Orcus? And the sergeant turns and says, why do you ask? That was Welsh. Scottish, but Irish. I might just make him Scottish because I can't do the Scottish Irish. I practiced it as well. I tried to get this Scottish Irish down because I wanted to test myself, but it's proving very difficult. Very difficult. Irish, no, it was Welsh. Irish, dilly-dee, potatoes. Irish, but a little bit of Scottish in it. He goes, why do you ask about Orcus? And you say, that's the demon lord that apparently is behind this. And he turns and says, confirms my suspicions. Apparently they'd kind of been suspicious of that and assuming that was the case, but they hadn't had confirmation until now. Do you have any information on it? And he goes, we've got books on all of the demon lords. Yes, we've been looking at them quite often, so they're around the house somewhere. Edith, you want to ask about Edith? Why did nobody mention Edith yet? I haven't seen anybody talk about Edith at all at any point. Fancy is definitely not going to do a short montage of all of the times that somebody said Edith in this episode. But Edith, you ask about Edith. Edith is the elderly woman that you became quite good friends with, that owns the apothecary shop and soothsayers. So you ask about her, and you ask about your friend Mosh as well. I suppose Edith's shop must be doing a lot of business too. I will have an insight check from you when you mention Edith. That is a nat 1. That is a nat 1, and you do not have any of your rerolls. Actually, you do have your hero point because we start every session with a hero point token. But that is a nat 1 on insight when you mention Edith. Insight, our best stat, yeah. Edith's shop must be doing well, and the mayor says, sorry, no, not the mayor, the sergeant. The sergeant says, Edith, it's bad news, I'm afraid. When we occupied Shadridge, well, war is a nasty business. People get hurt. Especially out here on a frontier like this, sometimes folk get seriously injured, even without being on the front line of an encounter with the enemy. So when we need potions to heal people up, it's under martial law to hand over any such potions in your possession. And Edith refused to do so. So she has been arrested. She's currently in jail. You don't have a jail. We do now. Oh, jail? No problem. We knew it would come to this. Let's break her out. Wait, what? Who wouldn't she heal? Oh, she would heal, but she refused to hand over her... what's the word for your stock? She refused to hand over her stock under orders of the king. And so we had to confiscate them by force. Is it a pit? A Yeti-sized pit? I mean, you could ask where the jail is. What about the young woman who is her apprentice? Toria. Toria is now running Stars Line. You jailed her just for that? We didn't jail her just for that. Edith has been obstreperous and, let's say, boisterous in her refusal to assist. She is a very feisty woman. Surely her skills would be better put to use preparing more potions. How long is she in prison for? We thought so too, but every time we release her, she makes a nuisance of herself. She's in her 80s. Yes, and she has very little left to lose, and so she seems to be getting enjoyment out of being obstreperous. I love her more and more. Is it possible for us to talk to her? You can talk to her, of course. Just don't get any ideas on breaking her out. She is able to leave at any time if she would just comply with orders from the king. I want to see her. Where's the jail? We've repurposed Altamez's menagerie. There is a very fine pit in the ground there that we are using as containment. Fucking pits. How about Mosh? Do you have any information on the SWAT team? Jackson speaks up and says, Mosh is no longer with us. What? He's dead? Oh, no. Sorry. No, I should have been clearer there. That was as my phrasing. Mosh is no longer with us in Shadridge. Mosh has joined the Hobgoblin portion of the army in the north. Up in the Dead Frost, up in the Great Expanse, there is a battalion of hobgoblins, a banner, that is comprised of people of his kind, people with shape-shifting abilities, and he is fighting with them. Willingly, or was forced to. Things aren't necessarily black and white anymore, Apis. He's doing his part for the war effort. Was that your choice or his? It was not my choice. You will come to understand that certain things are necessary during war, Apis. Could Mosh be recalled to help us with our mission? I don't have the authority to recall him. It is ultimately his choice to join the Hobgoblins. Faint confusion about the shapeshifter part. I don't know. I can't remember if they would know that you know that he is a shapeshifter or not. Benadryl coming back to bite Apis in the butt again. Maybe literally. If he knows that we need him, I think he'll surely join us. Well then, if you can get the information to him, be my guest. As it sounds from your mission that you've been given, you will be heading into the Dead... why do I keep saying the Dead Frost? As it sounds from the mission you've been given, you will probably be heading up into the Great Expanse. If you should pass by Mosh's battalion, group, banner, I'm sure you're willing to reach out to him, see if he wants to join you. He's a good person. I'm sure he'd help with the war regardless of anyone ordering or pressuring him to. Yes, no questions there. Do you have any recommendations? Do you have any recs for this SWAT team? Recommendations? Do you have any recs for this SWAT team? Points to Charlie and Joey, who are playing pat a cake in the corner, so that they don't have to be in the scene. Presumably we still have a map on our cloak. Could they mark any locations of interest? Do we still have a map on the cloak? I don't remember exactly what happened to that. I know that the last time you had a map on the cloak, it was the other map. It was the map of the other area. You took a map of the... I don't remember. Where are we at with the map cloak? Are there any of the Hobgoblin Regiment in town? Jackson sort of sighs like, oh, that's a difficult one to answer, and the sergeant steps in and says, there were. We were working with the Hobgoblins until one of them betrayed us, and so we have chosen to fight a common enemy, but separately. We are not aligned with the Hobgoblin army, we are just aligned with their results, with their intents. That was the inside of the cloak. Dren was the inside map cloak. We cleared off the map upon leaving Drenvale. Yes, I remember that, I think. I don't think we've taken a map of this forest, did we? Took a map of the forest around Fondurg, and I'm not sure it'd still be there. No, I don't think that's because that was during the Luciferic arc, and that was gone. How did the betrayers? One of them turned out to be a shapeshifter, some sort of underwater sea monster-y thing. We sent. Actually, it was after you'd gone missing, or the other you had gone missing. We sent somebody, a team of experts, to find you. And one of the hobgoblins was with them. What was his name? Grobok, I think. Grobok went with them to take them on the journey, and then turned out to be some sort of a shapeshifter, and thankfully was defeated. But at that point, they decided, Jackson sort of gestures to the army, they decided that the hobgoblins as a whole were not to be trusted anymore. Grobok, name sounds familiar. Was that the one we met? Yes. Grobok is the hobgoblin that you incapacitated, interrogated, and then freed. Has there been any word on Sally? No interaction from Sally yet, but it was at Sally's house at Sally's den that they discovered. They found where she was hiding out, and there was no sign of her there. There was, however, traps that managed to incapacitate a couple of our people. It seemed she'd trapped it. Is that the team that Briar was on? Oh, you know Briar? Yes, she was one of the team. Who else is left from that team? The sergeant speaks up and says, well, there was Briar, Mosh, and Nathine. I don't know if you know Nathine, but she was a knight of Kvosna from Fondurg. And then there were outside experts that we brought in for the mission. A dragonborn called Copernicus. Nathine, correct? Yeah, that's how it's spelt. You had met Nathine. I don't think you ever got their name. They fought alongside you in the Luciferic arc. There was a dragonborn called Copernicus, a fairy called Minnie, a hobbit woman called Teresa, and a tiefling called Cinta. They were accompanied by Grobok. Copernicus is still around. Cinta died. Nathine died. Teresa is still around, and I think Minnie is as well. It's hard to know with her. The Apis that we knew has disappeared, of course, which prompted the whole thing in the first place. Briar's still around, but injured. She took a full-face brunt of the trap that Sally had left. Well, not all shifters are demons. Did Grobok attack first, or was he attacked when it was discovered he was a shifter? Oh, he was definitely working with the demons. He shifted into some sort of tentacled monster thing and tried to attack them. He'd chopped off his own hand in order to get back his shifting ability after he was attacked by the trap as well. That's the level of extent he was willing to go to. Okay, I want to hunt Sally down now. Maybe not immediately, but she's got to pay. Yeah. Mosh knew that I was going to be away for a long time. I'm surprised he wasn't able to convey that message when the duplicate of me arrived. You'd be surprised, Jackson chimes in. You'd be surprised how convincing that duplicate was. It acted like you, it spoke like you, it had a convincing story of having spent a great deal of time in the Feywild and then come back to the time dilation having only passed a week or so. It was a very convincing story. We had no reason to doubt it. Mosh as well. Grobok wasn't the one who recruited and took Mosh away, was he? No, that was another part of the Hobgoblin army. Can you provide us a map of the war zone with deployments? It'll help us in our mission. Unfortunately, the nature of war means that we cannot send scouts deep into the Great Expanse. Even before it was a war zone, it was difficult to map this area. It's part of the nature of why Shadridge was here in the first place. This is as best as we have at the moment, and he shows you the map that's on the table. You can copy that one down, but it is very much like Shadridge and the area around Shadridge heavy. Like everything north of there, it's just like there's just like a handwritten note on the edge of the map on the north, and it just says demons, and it's just like north of here's demons kind of thing. They don't have a lot of detail north of that. Basically anywhere north of the Four Sisters. At least we know Mosh is actually with the hobgoblins and not captured by demons. Yes, probably. Maps change daily, I suppose. Yep. How are the elves faring? Surprisingly well. They're helping us tremendously with the war, and there's kind of like a tut and a roll of the eyes from the sergeant as Jackson says this. He doesn't outwardly disagree with him, but he does make his point, his contention known that he's not necessarily a fan of the elves, perhaps. Do they have recommendations for the SWAT team or no? Sorry, yes, recommendations. Do you have any other recommendations for our SWAT team? The sergeant does say Copernicus would be a great addition to your team. He's a specific demon hunter fighter. If he returns from his mission anytime soon, then he and Minnie perhaps would be great additions on the team. I can't guarantee that Minnie's even around. She's a little flighty, little as the fairies tend to be, little mercurial. But Copernicus would be a great addition to your team. Teresa, I don't think so much. I think her abilities are better suited here. You'd recommend Copernicus to risk life and limb to close the portal? They both chuckle at that. They both laugh involuntarily, like you just made a good joke. And the sergeant says, of anyone who's willing to bet to risk life and limb in favour of killing demons, I don't think you'll find a better man than Copernicus. You'll know why that is so funny when you meet him. Prince Elf side quest. Maybe, yeah. The elves are... He goes on to tell you the elves are helping with the war front. Some of them are more fighters, like your friend Verin, who are helping up in the direct war front. And then others are better suited at like potions and healing and things, and they're doing a lot of that. I'll tell you a little more about who is here in Shadridge because of the war. We have Copernicus, we've got Minnie, we've got the sergeant, we've got two corporals. He tells you about there's two corporals out there on like the battlefield essentially, Corporal Dunwell Fisco and Corporal Olivia Creason. There's also Anduria Brecken, the female warrior from the half-elf druid, the half-elf blacksmith that we met, that made us our daggers and things. That has a real hatred of all things goblin. She is now living in town. She's the one that's taken over what's his face's blacksmith shop since Oliver left. Delwar is here as well. Delwar is one of the NPCs that you met up in one of the elven villages. He's the head apothecarist here in town now. He's helping Toria with the potion making. So it's Delwar and Toria taking over the Edith's shop while she's arrested. There's a Tabaxi blacksmith too. Is there? Oh yes, there is. Yes, somebody redeemed something that I should mention. Oh, and also I should mention as well, there's another shop in town that is a it seems like a bathhouse has been opened in town since you've been gone. Since you've been gone. There is a what the hell? Where's the redemptions? Let me look up my redemptions list and remind me where everybody is. An onsen, that's what it's called. Requests. Wouldn't it be cool if this would happen? Yes, there is a blue-grey, tailless tabaxi named Tiberius in town. A reclusive weapons maker. He's not actually in town. That's probably why I forgot about him, actually, because he's on the north of town. He's obsessed with using rare materials and won't work with anything else. Bright green eyes and a high-pitched voice. They tell you about him. He's a weaponsmith on the edge of town that's sort of on the northeast side of town. kind of past the Colton's farm. He's set up himself in a more secluded kind of a place. There's also a bathhouse onsen in town now, which was another redemption. Would they let us read books they have on the Demon Lords? You can if you want. Yes, you can do so. Just give me a moment to see if anybody else wants anything from this conversation first. You're not just going to walk off in the middle of a conversation to read books. At some point must get to our bank. Not today, but maybe tomorrow. You should actually go visit your bank, yes. That river bank is definitely a thing we need to do at some point, yep. Any sign of Talila, the one who enchanted our cloak? She is not here, apparently. She is still up in Helwyn. Helwyn is one of the Four Sisters that is still technically occupied by elves. Why do we need a riverbank? Might draw people to it. That is a good point. You might want to just ignore it for a bit until you're desperate for money. What happened to Darren the Not So Nice Knight? He's still in town. He's actually been promoted. He's a Wolverine now. We commissioned some boots. We did commission boots and we did not pick them up. Much like we commissioned braces and did not pick them up. Alright, so what do you guys want to do? What's your goal? What's your plan? What's your priorities? I know that we want to check on Edith in the prison. We want to read the books. Read demon books, maybe before the bed, check on Edith, talk to Franklin, have a long rest. It's probably like at this point 3 or 4 in the afternoon, so you're going to need you've got some downtime before long resting. Put a silver tip on our rapier, check on Edith, read the books, pick up the boots, pick up arms, yeah right, check the banks. Lots of things to do. Alright, so it seems like a lot of people wanting to go to Edith. Okay, so I'm assuming you don't want anything else from these guys. You ask, can I borrow those books in a second? They say you're not able to leave with them, but you can read them while you're here. And you say, okay, I'll be back to read them a little bit later then. You head over to Edith's. It's about a half an hour walk out of town. It's out of the protection of the walls, as it were, the very shitty walls. And it's on the northwesterly direction on the way to the second farm, the Jack Creed's farm. Halfway to Jack Creed's farm, you come across Altamez's menagerie, and as you're approaching it, you can see that yes, sure enough, it has been very roughly converted into a jail cell. Essentially, there's the interior area where you had displayed your manticore skeleton and things. That section has been converted and now has like a cage just chucked in the corner for anybody to be placed in. There's nobody in it at the moment. And on your way through, you look down into the pit and you see that the pit has been kind of changed. The tree and the rocks and stuff down there are still there, but there's now like some temporary flooring that's been put in, just like basically planks just on top of each other, kind of like big plyboard sheets essentially. And there's like a makeshift bed and and a bucket for toilet and stuff like that. You look down there and you see your old friend Edith. Old friend in more than one meaning. She's down there. She's reading a book on her bed. She's just kind of like sitting upright and reading a book. You can see that there's some knitting off to her side, and there's like a tiny little like like a what are they called? Like a personal cauldron that's just kind of like this size, like a cooking pot sized cauldron that's just kind of by her bed, and it's got something in it that's not bubbling. You call down from here. Hi Edith, long time no see. Quite the predicament you've got yourself in here. And she looks up at you.
Oh, Apis. Is it the real Apis this time, or are you that fake one?
Heard you were getting in troubles. I'm the real one. Although, of course, if I was a fake one, I'd probably say that too.
Yeah, probably. It's not my job to work out who's who.
So what's this I've been hearing about you getting in trouble?
Oh, you know me. Gotta keep things interesting, right? Gotta keep things interesting when these bullies walk into town and just think they can take everything that they want. Oh, on command of this gentleman you've never heard of, that's never heard of you. on command of this guy, all of your livelihood's ours now. I don't think so. That's called thieving in my day. That would have been called daylight robbery. At least they used to have the decency to put themselves out on the highway and put a mask over their faces. Now they wear uniforms and say that it's.
She just starts ranting about coming in and stealing all of her stuff, and she's not having it. Are you the real Edith?
I'm as real as you are.
Is there any way we can convince you to drop your issues and play nice with the guards?
Oh, not you as well. I'm having fun with them. At least now I'm not having to work every day. I'm not like Toria, working her back to the bone, you know, breaking her back, doing potions for them every day. I've got myself a little break here. I've got a lovely tree. She gestures at the tree that's in her in her pit with her. Got a lovely tree. Some people come by and gawk at me.
Edith is a capitalist. Maybe. Edith, can you at least share your spoils?
Oh, of course, if they want things, they can purchase them at discount. I'm not mean, you know. It's a war. They can purchase things.
At least you don't have a Sasquatch down there as company, right?
Yeah, thankfully someone scared it off, right?
Is there anything we can do for you, Edith? At this point, the guard has come out of the nearby area and been like, "Oi, what are you doing?" Just talking to her. Don't throw anything down there. No, not throwing anything, just talking. And then he just kind of stands and watches you. Anything you need? Little treat I can get you?
Oh, anything from Franklin's Bakery would be lovely if you can get your hands on some. I'd be surprised if he's got any time to bake anything other than bread these days, though. Not a lot of time for sweet things, I don't think.
There is a war on, you know. Must have been expecting this to happen. Why don't you just leave town till things clear up?
I'm not going to leave town in the middle of a war. I needed to make potions. People need things, you know.
How's Toria's potion making been coming along? Not going to learn much from you while you're in here?
Oh, she's learnt a lot. She already learned pretty much everything I could teach her before I got thrown down here. Plus, there's that new elven gentleman. He's a bit of a dish, isn't he? Delwar, I think his name was. He's a handsome gent. Even older than I am. So, you know, the age difference isn't an issue, even though he looks young.
Laughing my fucking ass. Are you warm enough? You well fed?
I'm fine. I've got my blankets.
You aren't making potions down there, though.
Sort of.
And she gestures to the cauldron beside her. Is that a potion?
I mean, in the loosest terms it is, I suppose. I suppose it's kind of more of a soup. They won't give me too many ingredients because they're worried I'm going to create some sort of, I don't know, potion of flying or something, which I could do back in my day, but I certainly don't have the memory for that. I don't remember the ingredients. They haven't given me my potion books.
Could you make a potion for me? I'd pay, of course.
I don't think you understand my predicament, Apis.
Edith is me when I'm old, confirmed. Edith is sassy and she's down in Sassy's pit. Yeah, I was just talking to her. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one.
If you say so.
Look, I get it. If anyone could stage a jailbreak with a handful of ingredients, it'd be you.
Maybe in my day you flatter me.
I'll play you a tune to cheer you up.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I don't think she knows that you're often bad at panpipes. So here we go. You're going to play a tune to cheer her up. Let's roll your panpipes check. You are proficient in them, so you get to add your proficiency bonus, which is a +3. You also add your charisma bonus, which is a 1, so you add a 4 to this roll, and let's see if it's good. You pop your panpipes out. You get an 11 plus 4. That is above average. That is a 15. You play a decent tune. Maybe because you're just like, you don't think about it. You just snap them out. You don't give yourself time to get psyched out, and you play a little ditty. And she,
oh, lovely. It's been a while since I heard music, actually.
You do notice with that the guard has come a little closer to you and has his hand on your has his hand on his own sword. He hasn't drawn it, but he is ready to draw it if you are casting some sort of bardic magic. he's not an idiot and is aware that what you might be doing is magical. So he's gotten close enough to strike you if he needs to. Seems like Edith's doing okay as long as the area is not overrun. Tori can run the apothecary the way the army says. That seems like what's happening, yeah. Well, you could hear more music if you get out of here.
Well, that's on them then, isn't it? If they let me go.
And the guard says just quiet enough for you to hear, but not her. He says she can leave whenever she wants if she just promises to stop being a nuisance. Yeah, there's nothing so stubborn as an old woman, right? Yeah. Quite famous for being able to make flying invincibility, and flying invincibility while also being invisible potions with some straw and baking ingredients. Smart of them to keep you in such high-level containment. She's contained for her own safety. Right, I'm sure. Sure she's a lot of danger to herself when she's out and about. You can relax, soldier. I'm not here to cause trouble, just catching up with my friend. He doesn't relax. So, you probably know why I'm back in Shadridge. You gotta try and stop it at the source. Yeah, any hints you have for a pit-loving dwarg heading towards one that spews demons?
Try not to die. I hear it's quite painful.
Thanks. Helpful.
You got any holy water?
I do, actually.
Right, you're gonna need it. A lot of it.
I'm guessing 20 plus double flute sounds. Thank you. Full disclosure, it took me way too long to type that because my fingers failed to work and I typoed like 50 times. Appreciate it. Would you be willing to accept work from us in order to exchange for playing nice with your captors?
I don't think you need to work for me, Apis. You got more important things to be doing.
If we can convince them to let you go, will you stop messing with these people?
If they stop stealing my things.
Are you not getting subsidized? Like the government's not paying for it? And the guard says she is. We bought these things from her.
And she goes, "What are you saying? Speak up! Can't hear you down here."
Says we bought the potions from her. We bought the ingredients for her. We were paying her a decent wage for the products that we were taking.
Can't hear you.
I could always do with more holy water if you can make some.
She goes, "Oh, I'm not one of those. No, I can make you water that does all sorts of things. Make water that goes right through you. Make water that turns food into other things. I can make water that can, well, potions that some might call them. But I'm afraid I've never been one with the holy natures."
What type of other troubles has she caused? Inciting rebellion among the tavern goers of the Lucky Loot, for the main part. Closing up shops, sleeping in doorways to try and prevent access to certain things. Going around talking to other residents of Shadridge, telling them not to give their belongings to us, and putting up banners. I don't know if you saw. I don't know if it's been cleared off. Actually, I've not been into town in a little while, but scrawled along the side of the mayor's house, graffiti painted. That was her. She's been graffitiing in her 80s. She seems to have a bee in a bonnet about the presence of the army in town. He says they've been paying you.
Oh, paying us! Yes, if that's what you call it, yeah. Paying enough to have the vials, perhaps, but not the potions within them. If you rob someone, Apis, and you put a gold coin in their pocket after you've robbed them, does that make it okay?
I mean, in times of war, perhaps. Look, I'm not getting into it. Edith, hypothetically, what could you do with demon blood?
Oh, it depends which type of demon it came from and how fresh it is and how much of it. But I could do a lot with demon blood if I had the ingredients and the time and the resources and my cooking utensils and a lot of things, really. There's a world's your oyster, really.
Could you make some sort of deadly poison for demons?
I don't know any recipes for that, but I'd be able to tinker with something, I'm sure. I'm sure Delwa would. He's very handsome, very intelligent too. As good with potions as he is handsome.
Edith is a punk, basically, yes. Succubus blood, for instance. The guard's like, you have succubus blood? And you're like, I might, this is hypothetical. You turn back to Edith. Succubus blood? She goes, oh, succubus blood is a very powerful ingredient in love potions. We'll make a love potion? Maybe we could convince them to let you go if you agree to make them something with this blood that I hypothetically have. A very, very fresh vial of succubus blood. Edith makes me happy. She's got the hots for that elf. She certainly does. We don't really need a love potion in a war, unfortunately. Maybe Delwa should come and ask Edith to behave. That is a possibility. That's kind of what I've been hinting at. Like, the right person could convince her. Love potion to Orcus? Yeah, feed a love potion to Orcus and then get in front of him and be like, you're in love with me now. Now do as I say. That's how love works, right? Sounds like she'd use the love potion on Delwa. Maybe. I don't suppose this love potion could convince an enemy army to go home.
Not that much, no.
Make the succubus fall in love with us. That would be fun. If we're sure it was a succubus. You are not. She's not going to do what Delwa says. He didn't stop her sleeping in the street. No, he did not. Could you use blood to gain control over an original owner of the blood?
It's possible to do that. It's not really a potion thing, though. It's more of a enchantment thing. That's not really my topic. You'd be better asking somebody from the Arcanists Entente, most likely. Someone like Vala, for instance, a blood master. Someone who has studied blood and can use it to great effect. Edith is just a diviner and a soothsayer. I could certainly use the blood to tell you information about the person it came from. I could divine that sort of information.
She is a soothsayer, she's a diviner, she knows some divination magic, which is the subject of knowing things that you shouldn't know. That's the magic of that. So you could, for instance, use the blood to do some divination magic and learn stuff about Sylvia, but you could also use it to make a potion or to use to get some control. But the longer you leave it, the less potent it becomes as well. The freshness of blood is important. Like, it'll still be potent for a long time. Like, you only just took it today, so it'll be fine for a while. But eventually you're going to want to do something with it, otherwise it'll just be like a congealed glob of blood in a vial. Could you analyse blood to know exactly what type of creature it came from?
Oh yes, that's relatively easily.
As a diviner and a soothsayer, that's the sort of thing she can do quite easily. Would doing so consume the hypothetical blood?
Some of it. You say you have a vial?
I say I hypothetically have a vial.
Yes, a vial of blood is probably about as much as I'd need to ascertain information about who or what it came from, yeah. And it would probably consume it.
Does my heart good to see you, Edith. In troubled times, nice to see the face of a friend.
And you, Apis. Alright, well, good chatting.
I might go and see Delwar and Toria, check on your shop. You want me to pass on any message?
No, just... Oh, tell Tori I'm almost done with her sweater.
She looks down and sort of pats her knitting next to her. Alright, we'll tell her. Leave her here, she's having fun. We don't need to spring her out. Yeah, she's enjoying just being like... Just a... there's a word for it, just like a not crotchety. She's not a crotchety old woman. She's just being like, fuck it, I'm an old woman. What are they going to do to me? Like, she's just kind of given up. She's just enjoying being a nuisance, really. Rebellious. She's enjoying a rebellious nature of, like, being tricky here. Cantankerous. Maybe cantankerous. That feels a little more on the crotchety kind of side of things. Obstinate. Obstinate's pretty good. No more fucks to give, yeah. I've no more fucks to give. My fucks have runneth dry. Reliving her youth, perhaps. Alright, so you have checked on Edith. It is probably like 5 in the evening now, which being that it's winter means that the sun is going down. The twilight time is upon you. It's getting cold. Edith has blankets down there, thankfully. Let's see if it's raining, because she will need to set up her little umbrella situation if it is. It is not. Wait, which direction do I go with raining? More is more. Yeah, so it is. It is raining. It is raining, and it started to get a little bit more. So Edith says, like, "Good talking to you, Apis, but I should really get under my covers now." And she opens up like a single person tarpaulin, like one of those easy up kind of gazebo things, just like made out of 2 umbrellas that are kind of stitched together in the middle. She opens one up and opens the other up and plonks one into like a little hole down one end of the bed, and plonks the other one on the other sort of Katie Corner-wise bedpost, and it covers up the bed from the rain. And she just kind of like lies down on the bed and continues to knit. Well, she's losing the light now, so she probably goes back to her knitting rather than her reading. So Edith's store, try and find Arms. Arms is a bit of a walk because it's right across the other side of town. You're already halfway to so to give you an idea of maps, like if you can look at my screen, sorry for those in a podcast, but like if Shadridge is here and the front of the war is up here to the north, then over here is the apiary turned farm, and you're like here, and over here is the Colton's farm. And so you'd have to go all the way back to town, all the way across town, and all the way out to the Colton's farm to get Arms, which you could do. Getting the rapier done before tomorrow would be a useful one. Getting them to put a silver tip on it. You could do that, yeah. So you head first to the weapons shop, which is good because it's on the west side of town. So you head back into town. One of the first shops that on this side of town is the blacksmith shop, which was owned and operated by Oliver, a very recent addition to the town, one that you saved from the Manticore. And he came to town with his skills, his blacksmithing skills, and set up a second blacksmith in town, with a focus more on weapons than the other guy, who has a focus on more farrier and fletching and everyday blacksmithing. But it seems that Oliver only was running his blacksmith shop here in town for a number of months before this war kicked off, and he was like, "Look, I've just gone through trauma, like at the hands of a manticore, fearing several times a day for my life, thinking that I'm going to get eaten by some sort of demonic monster. I'm not going through that again." And Oliver was like, "Fuck off." Oh no, it was Morn. Sorry, it was. You're right. Oliver was the knight. Morn. It's a while since we did that arc of the campaign. My apologies. Morn was the blacksmith, Oliver was the knight. You are correct, Aerie. Morn was the blacksmith, and he was like, "I'm not going through that again," and he upped and left and went south somewhere. And then your half drow, half human blacksmith friend came into town and took over his blacksmith shop. So you walk into her shop and greet her again. It's the first time you've seen her in a long while now. What is her name again? Anduria Brecken, a female warrior on the edge of the that fought on the edge of a goblin war. So she hates goblins now. You ask her, "Hey, you catch up a little bit? Look, I'm Apis. I'm the real guy. All the same stuff. Exposition." And then you're like, "What would it cost to get my my rapier silvered?" And she says, "You're not the first to want your weapon silvered. Unfortunately, we're very low on silver at the moment. The resources for it." And you stop her. You're like, "I've got silver. I've got several silver coins." And you reach your hand into your pouch. You bring out several silver coins, and you're like, "Can you use silver coins to do it?" And she goes, "Oh yes, I can melt down silver coins." She kind of looks over your shoulder to make sure nobody actually followed you into the blacksmith or is within earshot, and she says, "This is a relatively hard to come by commodity these days because of the requirement for silvered weapons when you're fighting demons and such. I would not go advertising the fact that you have a pocket full of silver. I would even potentially, if you want to earn a bit of money, I would potentially consider selling all of the silver you have to the knights. They're willing to buy more than their equivalent price. But yes, it would take me. Let me see. How many coins do I think it would take to silver a decent amount of a rapier? If your coins are like poker chip sort of size, you melt it down, coat a blade. I don't know the first thing about doing this stuff in real life, so I'm just going to have to make a sort of educated guess, I guess. Silver more valuable than gold? Not exactly more valuable than gold, but it is more worthwhile. Like, they need silver more than they need gold.
Blade. A blade of silver.
You just want the tip of it because it's a stabbing weapon, not a slicing weapon, which means that there's less of it needed. I'm going to say that it is a D6 plus 4. She needs D6 plus 4 silver pieces from you, which is a 6. So she needs 10 silver pieces from you in order to coat the weapon in silver, and then it's the amount of her labour as well, labour costs of actually doing it. So she'd charge you. She could probably do it relatively quickly and easily. It's not too much to melt down some silver in a crucible and add it to a weapon. But you do have to, I imagine, I don't know much about doing this in real life, but like I'd imagine you would also need to put some effort into making sure the silver clings to the weapon and doesn't just come off again in the middle of a fight. I would imagine you'd also then need to sharpen the tip of it again because it would be dulled by adding a layer of metal to it. Keep some and sell some. Was it a spear that Joey uses? He does use a spear, yes, and we could inquire about a spearhead. Charlie and Joey with us. I'll say that they didn't come to Edith with you. No, they had no reason to come to Edith with you. They were talking with somebody. Talking with the guy about the war, probably. Actually, Charlie probably went off to the Colton's farm to cast some sort of druidic spells on the ground there to like bless the spells with bless the farm with magic to be like encouraging plant growth and things. That's probably what Charlie would have been doing. And Joey would have been talking with the guards of town and getting a lowdown on how this town is run. So I'm going to say it's going to take 10 silver coins and it's going to cost you 2 gold pieces for her. So 10 silver and 2 gold. She'll do the silver weapon for you, and she says she can have it for you by the time you go to bed tonight. Like a few hours, maybe like 3 hours or something. You can also get some arrows silver tipped. Yeah, you hand over, let's say you give her 3 gold then instead of 2. Which takes you down to there. You give her 3 gold, and instead of 10 silver you give her 15 silver and say, look, with whatever you can spare with this, get me as many of the. You can take out a bundle of like 20 arrows and you're like, as many arrows as you can silver with that, if you wouldn't mind, please. I always thought 100 gold pieces for a silvered weapon in the core rules was ludicrous. Most of the economy in the core rules is ridiculous. Yes. It depends on how much wealth you hand over to your players. Yeah, I don't give you a shit ton of wealth all that often. Like everything you kill doesn't have 10 gold in its pockets, which is usually how D&D is normally run. Which is why things cost a lot more, because they're like, we need to bleed off some of this gold that you're accumulating. Just don't give them as much gold. Stay on top of how much gold you're giving out. Only give them one huge dragon horde worth of gold at the end of one of the arcs, and then never give them gold again, I guess. Does this make us deal magical damage? No. Nope. Does not make your weapons magical, it just makes them silvered. And some creatures specifically say they're immune to non-silvered weapons. I'm paying for the skill, not the silver. Yeah. But in my games, a gold piece, I shall have used as a rule of thumb, a gold piece is about $100. I used to think of it as like $200, but it made the maths difficult. So I just think 1 gold, $100. And then that way it allows me to do very quick maths. So I'm like, $200? She'd be willing to do like a couple of hours work for $200. Work that doesn't require her to have like a lot of
resources expended on her part. You're providing the silver. She's got the crucible. She's expending a little bit of fuel for the fire, but more than enough to make a profit from 200 gold. Who would we see to get magical damage on a weapon? You'd have to speak to an arcanist, some sort of a wizard or some enchanter, some kind of artificer of some kind. A silvered weapon's negating demon resistance? You don't know, but you'll find out. Is cold iron a thing here? It is, yes, but you don't have it. I have one of my allies that favours a spear. How much cost for the same treatment to get his spear tip silvered? She says, well, she goes, what sort of a spear is it? She gestures over to a few different spearheads that she's got behind her. You look at the various different types of spear that there is, and you pick one that looks closest to it. She goes, all right, well, for that, and I will see, let's see, I'll make it the same, d6 plus 4. 6 again. She goes, it'll be another 10 silver, and then, I mean, if you give it to me now, I could do it for cheaper, so probably just another gold and a half. So basically, if you give her 10 silver and a gold and a half, which is, you could literally half a gold coin, or you could you could just give her 5 silver, or you can just give her 2 gold and tell her to keep the difference. Give her 2 gold. It's wartime. All right. So we give her another 2 gold. We give her another 10 silver. We will go off and tell Joey, hey, take your spear around to that blacksmith's as soon as you can. She'll silver it for you, but keep it stum that I have silver on me, because otherwise people will be going for it. Any artificers in town if Talila's around? Talila's not in Shadridge, but she is in the closest of the four sister towns. So if you head through to the Four Sisters, you could maybe get Talila to enchant some weapons for you if you wanted it. I haven't even asked Joey if he wants or needs his spear silvered. I mean, if he understands that if it doesn't affect the stabby nature of his spear, it still stabs just as well, but it's now silver, then he's down for it. He would be down for it because it's like a direct upgrade without costing him anything. Paying more is likely to lead to her doing a good job. It's all good. Yeah. So you leave Anduria's shop. You go find Joey talking to one of the guards nearby. He's only like 50 feet away or something, and you're like, "Hey, Joey, blacksmith shop's take your spear there for a second," and you distract the other guard so he doesn't ask questions or anything. Joey turns in. If Joey doesn't come by, use it on more of our arrows. But Joey does go by. So Joey's by the end of tonight, hopefully. Anduria, with you having more things to silver now, she might be up into the night to deal with this, but she'll have it for you by morning at least. She'll have silvered some of Joey's. She'll have silvered Joey's spear. She'll have silvered the tip of your rapier, and she'll have silvered some amount of your arrows, which I will roll for to see when and how and what. Then you head back to the mayor's place before it's got too late. It's now getting quite dark. It's probably like 7 p.m. or something. You walk into the mayor's place, you pass the guards and all that, you grab the books that they were presenting on Orcus, and they give you information on Orcus. I'm not just going to sit here and read it now, but I will give you the Cliff Notes version, and you can ask me when it comes up, and when it comes up as appropriate, when it's important to actually know anything about it. You can be like, do we know this about Orcus? And I'll give you some sort of advantage on your religion check to know if you know it or not. But the Cliff Notes are that he's also known as the Demon Prince of Undead, and his goal is to end all life in the cosmos. He hates life. He is anti-life, and he hates all life, and he wants to end everything. He's all about undead, and he wants to replace the living with the immortal undead creatures that answer only to him. He is the universe's staunchest advocate of stagnation. He sees the activity of life as noisy, crude, and maddening. It rakes at his senses like the claws of a rat scratching across a hard floor. In his view, the universe can know peace only when life's incessant hum is replaced by the peace and quiet of the world of the dead. So that's your Cliff Notes about him. If you want to know more, you can read the first chapter of Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. But you spend the rest of the evening reading about Orcus and such. So in future, if we need to know more things about Orcus, you can roll religion checks, and I'll see if you picked up on it from this book. So that explains some of the Gravedigger interactions in the graveyard. Yes, it does. Well remembered. So some of the necromancy that was seeping through, some of the Gravediggers' graveyard bodies coming back to life. That all starts to make a lot more sense now, being that the necromantic nature of this, not only demons but necromantic demons, it seems to be making a lot more sense to you now. He seems like a delight. Yeah, just call him an auditor. Wonder what his thoughts on entropy is. Yeah, no negotiating with this guy. Not that guy. He's a demon lord. Doesn't it depend? Regardless of of which of the demon lords it was, there'd be no negotiating with them. You don't negotiate with a demon lord. Can we spend some time reading about insight? Not tonight. No, that's going to be pretty much all of your downtime to learn the stuff about Orcus. As you are finishing up your book, though, you've read as much as you feel comfortable reading. You're starting to get tired. You also need to try and get a room at the Lucky Loot if there is one. You close up. You say goodbye to the mayor. You walk from the mayor's place to the Lucky Loot, Gretchen's inn, and you walk in and you see Gretchen having a good old Hey! For those who don't remember, she's a half-orc, an uruk in my world, they're called, half-orc, half-human. She's cleaning a bar and she's sloshing an ale down the bar towards somebody else, and she's having a good old time. It's very boisterous in here. Things to give morale a pick-me-up in the time of war. So people love places like bars where there's like, it's very rowdy. There's card games happening. There's people getting drunk and drinking away their sorrows of seeing their compadres getting torn apart by demons and such. And so people are having a good time. What you also see is control find, where is he? You see sitting at the bar with his back to you, a very tall burly kind of build gentleman, a blue dragonborn. He has armor on. He has I think it was chainmail from memory. He has armor on. He is sitting with his back to you, with his left arm out on the bar, just drinking what was given to him, and his right arm sort of reaches up and scratches his head, and as he does so, sort of from behind, you see that his right arm is entirely bionic. It seems like some sort of mechanical device with pulleys and levers and pneumatic parts within it. Scratches the back of his head, and he's like loudly exclaiming some sort of a story, having just returned from a mission elsewhere. So you walk over, and Gretchen says, "Hey, Pierce! Come on in! It's great to see a real you again! Hey, let me introduce you to Copernicus!" And Copernicus turns to you, and that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I will see you next time. Bye.
Are you finding this story really exciting, but you wish you were there to actually direct the story as it happens? Well, you can join in live and be part of Apus's hive mind over at twitch.tv/Robert Hartley GM.